Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we are going to be talking about my 15 recommendations for the Sephora VIB sale. It starts October 26th. I'll have information down below in my description box about the dates for Rouge members and insiders. It's always a little bit different, but Rouge members have, again, 2 opportunities to shop. I think they did this last time and maybe the last 2 times we've had this sale. I'm not sure, but we'll have 1 weekend to shop and then another weekend to shop. And I love it because usually I go in like, oh, I don't really need anything. And then by the time the second weekend rolls around, I'm glad that they've given us this second opportunity because maybe I've run out of something or I've forgotten that I need to re-up on something else. Anyway, I love having the 2 chances. So for this video, I thought what I would do is basically do my makeup with all of my recommendations. I don't know if I can use every single last one of them because there's like a couple eyeshadow palettes, but I'm going to try and use every single piece that I'm going to recommend to you. So if you're interested in hearing what my recommendations are for the Sephora VIB sale, then just keep on watching. So I just got back from my trip to New York City and I was there for 10 days. So I was gone for a while and I haven't been able to upload as many videos as I usually do, as I usually like. So thank you guys for being patient with me, but I am basically working out of my travel bag because a lot of my favorites are here in my bag. And the first one that I'm recommending to you is the Tom Ford Traceless Stick Foundation. This is relatively new to me, but ever since I purchased this, it's really kind of been my go-to foundation. It's just, you know, it's a stick foundation, so it's just so easy to use. You just swipe it on your face and then you just blend it out. And I have it in the shade 1.5 Cream. And I like the coverage. I love the texture of this foundation. It's just really great. Don't necessarily have the best luck with stick foundations, but lately, I think, I don't know if maybe it's, you know, formulas have gotten better, things like that, but I really love this one. The Westman Atelier Stick Foundation I had great luck with. But before that, the only stick foundation that I liked was the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation. But I like this one much, much more. I'm going to use my Tom Ford No. 2 brush to blend this out. This is the cream foundation brush from them. I would normally also recommend some Tom Ford brushes in my Sephora VIB sale recommendation videos, but since they switched over to synthetic, I haven't gotten a chance to play with them. I'm a little bit on the fence about the whole situation, but I loved the natural hair brushes. For me, it's been hard to kind of just get my mind around the fact that these are now synthetic. I feel like I'm in mourning still. And then for more precise areas like, excuse me, like on my, around my eyes, I just swipe the brush along the stick foundation and then I just kind of dab that where I need either additional coverage or if I feel like I'm working it into like a little crevice, like around my nose or around my eyes. It's just a great way to work instead of having to try and swipe this stick on my eyeball. This is a lot easier. So there's the stick foundation applied. I just love, love, love the finish. I think it is a very natural finish with just a hint of emollients kind of going on there. I think you guys can probably see that I don't look shiny or oily in any way, but there's just a hint more dewiness than something that I would just say is like a natural skin finish. I just love it. I think it's wonderful. And I would love to hear from you guys if you've used this and you have like combo or oily skin, if this works for you. I'm just always curious since I have such dry skin. A lot of people always ask me, well, do you think it would work for oily? I really don't know. Like I've never had oily skin. It's not like I've just, you know, developed dry skin. I've always had dry skin. So I can't even kind of like comprehend. Like I just don't know. So anyway, comment down below if you have oily skin and you do like that foundation or don't like that foundation. I do want to recommend another foundation. This is number 2 on my list. I'm not going to put this on also, but this is the La Mer Soft Fluid Foundation. I decided to go ahead and demo the stick foundation because I've talked about this really a lot. Just a lot. I've talked about this foundation, but I love it. I have it in 2 shades, actually, Natural 12 and Neutral 22. I usually reach for the Neutral 22. I just like the tone of it. It is, I think you can see, this one's just a little bit peachier and brighter. This one I feel like just suits me a little bit better, but if I'm feeling high maintenance, I use this for most of my face, and then I'll use this for kind of like the high points or the center part of my face, which is a little bit like cooler in tone. But this is such a long time favorite of mine. It is such a beautiful, beautiful liquid foundation, and I know just from asking everyone that I've run into that does like this foundation that this seems to work on a multitude of skin types. So Risa of Risa Does Makeup, who has extremely oily skin. She loves this foundation. I've also spoken to Jen Love's reviews about this. She has very normal skin. She loves this foundation. So I feel like I can confidently recommend this to just about anyone out there. It's fantastic. I feel like the coverage is there. The finish is so natural. It looks beautiful. It's just stunning. It's stunning. And if you've been dying to try the foundation, now's a good time. 20% off is nothing to sneeze at. So that is my number 2 recommendation. All right, so I just threw on some concealer because there aren't any concealers at Sephora that are really blowing my skirt up these days. I've really been liking my Clé de Peau, my Sisley, and neither of those brands are carried there. So we're just gonna go right over to powders. And I'm so happy that Charlotte Tilbury is at Sephora. Her pressed powder is probably one of her most well-known, iconic products in her line. It is really amazing. This is shade number 1, Fair. It is so light. It is so fine. And this is another one. I feel like I watch enough YouTubers that have raved about this, that I feel like this works for a lot of different skin types, from, you know, much younger to much more mature skin. I just think it's fabulous. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some of this to my face. And I'm just going to use my La Mer powder brush. This brush is not officially on my list, but I would recommend it. It's synthetic hair. It's just gigantic. It's just a beautiful, beautiful brush, and it feels really, really great on the skin. It's very, very soft, but it's not too soft where it doesn't pick up product. It's really nice. All right, so there's the powder on my skin. I feel like it does such a great job setting down my makeup, but because it's so fine, I don't feel like it makes me look too matte or too dry or too aged. Like, it's just a wonderful formula. So this is number 3 on my list. All right, next up is number 4, and this is a bronzer. This is one that I've talked about quite a bit also. This is the Bobbi Brown bronzing powder in Stonestreet. This is a wonderful, wonderful, neutral, matte finish bronzer. If you just want something basic, like it doesn't have any sheen to it, there's not a hint of, you know, warmth, there's not a hint of cool. This one to me is just perfectly neutral, goes on the skin so smoothly. The formula of this bronzer is so good. It just blends like a dream. So I'm going to go in with my Tom Ford bronzer brush, and it's pretty pigmented. So I'm going to pick up a little bit, but kind of knock off a lot on my arm. And I think it just warms up the face beautifully. If you want to contour with it, it works also. I just think it has such a beautiful tone. Of course, if you have my skin tone, I think it works wonderfully. So there is the bronzer applied to my face. It just really makes quick work of contouring, bronzing, adding a little bit of life to my skin, giving me like a healthy flush. Like, it just does all of that by just kind of like putting it underneath my cheekbones, along my forehead, just a little bit across the bridge of my nose, under my jawline. Like, I think it's just great. It's fantastic. Such a perfect tone. So that's the Bobbi Brown Stonestreet bronzer. And then next is a relatively new product, but I've raved about this. This appeared, I think, in my last month's favorites. This is the Hourglass Unlocked Edit palette. I think that's the name of it. This is the one with the bunny on it. They just came out with a palette that has like a pinky tinge to it. That one I didn't pick up. It had a lot of the existing products in the palette. I think like 4 out of 6 or even maybe 5 out of 6 of the powders existed in their line. So I don't know. I just didn't feel like I needed that one. But this one has all exclusive powders that are brand new and exclusive to this palette. And then you'll probably notice also that all of these are like non-marbled, which I think Hourglass is kind of known for, but it's nice because sometimes I feel like I'll pick up something and if it has like a lot of the lighter color marbling going through it, then all of a sudden it doesn't kind of like work, or it doesn't work as I thought it would. But anyway, I just love every single powder in this palette. I've been using every single one, and this has been such a good travel companion for me. I've taken 2 relatively long trips since I've purchased this palette. It's gone with me on both trips. I've used this palette on both trips. A lot of times I pack a lot of makeup that I don't use. This one I used. So here's 2 finishing powders, a bronzer, that's great, 2 blushes, and then a highlight. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the blushes. I'm gonna use this one, which is called Nude Glow, because I think I'm gonna be doing sort of a warmer eye look. So I'm gonna use my Tom Ford blush brush and go into Nude Glow. And this blush has quite a bit of sheen. All of these powders have a little bit of sheen to them. This one has micro glitters in there. It has more of a sheen than the other blush. Not quite as much as the highlight, but it has quite a bit of glow going on. And I really like blushes with a bit of glow in them, because if you're in a rush and you don't have time for like an extra step of doing your highlight, a glowy blush kind of doubles as both. So big fan of that. And even if you do want to take the extra step to highlight, you're just kind of starting with an already kind of glowy base. So anyway, I've been loving this palette. I'm not going to use the other products in here because I have other ones I want to talk about. So I do highly recommend this, and this is number 5 on my list. And then for highlight, I just love this one. And again, another thing that I've talked about quite a bit, but this is the Charlotte Tilbury Bar of Gold. I love this. I recommend this to anyone I see. They're like, what if I need a new highlight? I'm like, Charlotte Tilbury Bar of Gold. Can't go wrong. It's got like a yellowy shade, it's got a pinky shade, and it's got one that's a little bit deeper. And I've just been kind of like swiping or, you know, kind of pouncing my brush in all 3 powders, and it works beautifully. The formula of these highlights is of that kind of baked texture. They feel very velvety, and there's a lovely sheerness to it, so you get a really reflective highlight, but because they're sheer, you can still kind of see your skin underneath. So I feel like this works for a very wide range of different skin tones, which is awesome. It makes it very versatile. There it is on my cheek. And again, I just kind of pounced my brush in all 3 powders, just kind of back and forth. So there's the Bar of Gold. Such a big fan. Definitely recommend this. So that is number 6 on my list. Number 7 on my list is one that has appeared many times, but I have to mention it every time. It's the Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel. I think I've turned quite a few people onto this, and it's just great. It has the best texture. It has you know, some fibers in there, but I don't feel like I'm kind of like struggling with like silly strings. Sometimes I feel like when I've tried a fiber brow gel that I'm like running silly string through my eyebrows. The gel has just enough hold in there. It's really much more of like a pomade versus gel, because it never really gets crunchy. It just kind of thickens your brows and helps them behave. And it's perfect for me because I have longish eyebrow hairs, but very sparse eyebrow hairs. So I really need the fiber to kind of thicken up my brows. And then because the hairs are so long, it's great to have something that's like a pomade versus a gel that just, you know, just makes them hard and crisp, which I don't like. Not for my eyebrows. So I have the color Espresso, which is the darkest shade. And I know that there are 4 shades, at least on the Sephora site, that are available. And I think it pretty much covers everyone. I just love it. Oh, I should show you the brush. This is what it looks like. So it's small. It's definitely a very petite brush, but it's angled. So it goes from thick to thin. And I need that. Like I need a little bit of an actual brush there to kind of get my eyebrow hairs. If I use something that's too thin, like the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Brows, I think is what she calls her brow gel, the brush on the end of that is so fine, which I think is great if you don't have super long eyebrow hairs. But because I have long eyebrow hairs, like I need a brush to be able to get in there. So I like the size of this brush. It's not big by any means, but like there's brush to it. All right, so that was number 7 on my list. The next 3 picks that I have for you are all eyeshadow palettes. So when I was coming up with this list, of course, there's like a ton of things on Sephora that I could recommend. I mean, obviously much more than 15, but what I kept in mind was the time of the year. So, you know, this is fall, winter, and also we're going into the holiday season, and we want, sometimes we want more glittery, more fun looks. So that's kind of what I had in mind when I was coming up with my eyeshadow recommendations. So one that I would definitely recommend, I just love this one. I've been using this a lot, is the NATASHA DENONA 5-pan Camel palette. And yes, this may look incredibly boring to some, but it's just such a great everyday eyeshadow palette. I really just can't get enough of it. It's like the perfect like black dress. Like if I don't know what else to wear, I'm like, let me just use this. You know, it's just a no-brainer. So I'm going to start my eye look with this palette, and then I'm going to move to the other palettes that I am going to recommend. So I'm going to start with this middle shade here called Safari. It's just one of her creamy mattes. And I'm going to start by kind of giving my eye a little bit of dimension with this, with the outer corner area and the socket line area. You guys know the drill. And before I put this away, let me just give you some swatches of these. So neutral, so basic. You can amp it up with the two metallic shades in here. Just stick with the mattes if you just want like an everyday work appropriate look. It's just fantastic. So I love this palette. But I'm going to move into my next recommendation, which is her gold palette. So this is the NATASHA Denona gold palette. It has 15 shades in here. And if you are a neutral brown gold lover like I am, this is the palette for you. There are basically two, maybe 3 or 4 shades in here that are not exactly neutrally gold. This one I know kind of looks gold on camera, but there's such a duochrome going on in there. There's like, it really comes off like lime green with like a shift of peach in there. And then obviously we have 2 blue tone shades. And then this one is like a white gold. So it's like a warm silver in a way. But I'm going to go right into the Oro color, which is right in the middle there. It's probably the most yellow, kind of true 24 karat type of gold that's in here. Every other kind of gold shimmery shade in here has a little bit of either coolness or a little bit of warmth in there. But this one is like straight up gold. So I'm going to use my Sonia G Worker 1 brush, pick up a little product, and I'm going to press this onto my lid. The impact of all the shadows in this palette are like amazing, like super, super high impact. I've used, I want to say, yeah, I've used all the shades in here. They're all beautiful. They're all really, really beautiful. If you're a fan of NATASHA Denona shadows, you're going to love this. It's just amazing. I'm going to take my Tom Ford blending brush and just go into this Dijon color here and, you know, kind of just blend out these shadows here and make sure there isn't anything that's too harsh looking. And I have a video dedicated to that gold palette. So if you're interested in taking a look at some swatches and actually, you know, hear some more in-depth thoughts on that gold palette, I'll link it right here for you to take a look at. So those were recommendations number 8 and 9. Number 10, you guys probably guessed it, is the Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction palette. So here is this palette, and I am going to go into some of the darker colors here to give a little bit of dimension here on my eyes. So I'm going to use my Hakuhodo J5523 brush. I'm going to go into this deep matte brown here and just apply that to my outer corner. So I absolutely love this palette. I think this one is my favorite. I still really love the Subliminal palette. I love the cool tones that are like on the left side of the palette, those 6 shades on the left side. Just wonderful. That palette is such a great kind of everyday palette, and you know, when you think of Pat McGrath, you don't necessarily think of like everyday makeup, but that palette has like come to my rescue. Much like the way I've been using the NATASHA Denona Camel palette, that was the palette I reached for before I got the Camel palette. Like if I didn't know what I felt like doing or I didn't know what direction I was going in, I would just grab that palette and, you know, use those 6 shades and kind of just be done. But this palette is really special. There's just something really, it's eye-catching, you know, so you want to use it, you want to open it up, you want to take a look at it. So it's very inspiring. This red is just absolutely stunning. It is so beautiful. To me, it's like the perfect red eyeshadow. I don't think red is a shadow color that you use on your eyes very often because it makes your eyes look bloodshot, or it's just kind of a weird shadow color to use. But she just got it right. I don't know if it's because it's a shimmer. I don't know if it's because it has like a certain brightness to it. It's not too like bloody looking. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's such the perfect red shade. And then you have all the different like textures. You have some satins. You have shades that are a little bit chunkier. You have all these duochromes here. And then you have her wonderful mattes that are like just a dream to work with. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And next I'm going to take my pencil brush and go into this deep eggplant shade and line my eyes with this. All right, so those are the 3 eyeshadow palettes that I would recommend for this sale: the Camel palette, the Gold palette, and the Bronze Seduction palette from Pat McGrath. So next up, I've got eyeliner. And you guys have seen me use these eyeliners a gazillion times, but these are the Tom Ford Kohl Intense liners. I really love them. I think they go on really smoothly without being too soft. I feel like with eyeliners that are too soft, I am very capable of making a mess when using those. So these liners are just, they're soft enough, not too soft. I love the color range that he has. I've been using the metallic mink the most. I love Bruise, I love Midnight. They're just beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the color Bruise, and this is like a very deep, deep purpley color. So it's a nice alternative to just black or brown, which is what I usually gravitate towards, but I've been using Midnight and Bruise a lot, Midnight being kind of like a navy blue, and this Bruise color a lot lately. So there we go. I just put it in my waterline a little bit. So that would be my next recommendation, these Tom Ford Kohl Intense pencils. And then next is a tool, and this is the Surratt Relevee eyelash curler, and I love it. And I love it because of the shape of it. A lot of eyelash curlers, I'm gonna hold it like this. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to tell, but a lot of eyelash curlers are much more convex, if you will, much more convex. So it just comes up a lot higher. So the curve of it is much rounder. And my eyes are, I guess, a little bit flatter against my head. So I just, you know, I would kind of bring it close and I would either only be getting the edge of my lashes or I'd be kind of angling and I'd only be getting the center of my lashes. So this shape just really works for my particular eyeball shape. So there are my lashes curled. You probably can't see them because I have such short lashes, but I'm gonna go ahead and just apply some mascara off camera. I have been absolutely loving the Chanel mascara, which is not available at Sephora, so I don't have a mascara recommendation for you. So I'm gonna do this off camera and I'll be right back. So my next two recommendations, number 13 and 14, are lip products, and the same goes for lip products as I mentioned for the eyeshadows. There's just tons that I could recommend. I love like all the Pat McGrath lip products, which actually we'll get into in just a second, but you know, I've talked about them a lot, and so it's kind of a no-brainer at this point. But one lip product I did want to mention is the Armani Lip Maestro. This has definitely showed up in many of my favorites, so you guys know I love this, but I feel like they're not talked about a lot. They're not talked about enough, and they are like a moussey texture, so they go on kind of wet on your lips. They don't actually ever fully set down on your lips. You know, they're not transfer proof, but they do end up with this kind of matte velvety texture. It's just such an incredibly unique formula, and they're so comfortable. And for someone who doesn't like, generally who doesn't like matte formulas, I just love them. So I have quite a few, and I think at the Nordstrom sale, yeah, it was the Nordstrom anniversary sale, they were selling kits. And so they had this color in the kit. This is color number 400. I don't know if this was exclusive to that kit or if you can get it, but the Lip Maestro line, if you go onto the Sephora site, and of course I'll link to everything down below, you'll see that there's a ton of different like reds that you can choose from. They're all beautiful. So I'm gonna use this color number 400 because it's just red, and my mind has been on holiday makeup lately. So there is number 400 of the Armani Lip Maestro on my lips. So comfortable. So yeah, moussey and velvety, those are really the only two words that kind of keep coming to mind when I think about this particular lip formula. And it applies so easily. So I'm usually kind of a spaz when it comes, especially when it comes to red lipsticks, where I usually have to like line my lips and kind of like do all of these machinations of like cleaning up my lip line. But this just went on like a dream, and I think it looks pretty neat. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, I think it looks pretty neat, and I don't experience any bleeding with this formula. So anyway, this is number 13 on my list.
Hello, Fuzzy Butters.
And then the next lip product that I'm going to recommend is a Pat McGrath Lust Gloss Lip Gloss, and this is in the color Gold Allure. And when I was kind of coming up with this list, it was before I actually put this Lip Maestro on there. I thought this is just a great addition if you, like we all have a lot of lipsticks in our collection. We probably have a red lipstick in our collection, or a lipstick that we always wear to holiday parties or a night out or something. And I think that this is just a great complement to any of those. If you just want to make it a little bit more sparkly, a little bit more glittery, make it a little bit more holiday, I think this is awesome. There are a ton in the Pat McGrath Lust Gloss line that you could choose from. Like Alien Angelic has like a cooler tint to it. The Gold Blitz is even more of a yellowy kind of 24 karat gold. This one kind of falls in between the two of them and just gives your lips like that little something. Since I have bright red lipstick on, I'm actually going to swipe some of this onto the back of my hand and apply it from there so I don't get the applicator all gunky. But look at that little bit of sparkle that I get just by applying this on there. So imagine the possibilities of all the different red lipsticks that you have in your collection. You can just add a little bit of this gloss on top and you kind of have like a whole different lip color. So last but not least would be a finishing powder. And I have to say, I really love these. These are the Guerlain Meteorites. And there is a holiday version that's come out. I ordered it. It hasn't come yet. It is available on the Sephora site. So I'm going to link to it down below anyway, just in case that one kind of strikes your fancy. It looks a little bit deeper in tone than the one that they came out with last holiday season. But this is just one from their regular line, and I have it in the shade medium. The Fair or Claire, the light one, I think, is just a little bit too cool. So the medium one is just a little bit warmer and looks a little bit more, I don't know, natural on my skin tone. So let me just pop this lid off. So this is what the medium looks like. And if you're not familiar with meteorites in general, they have that like wonderful lilac-y scent that years ago really bugged me and I didn't like, but now, I don't know, now either my tastes have changed or I'm getting older. I just really, really love it. What I do, and this is something that Tara Babies talks about, she kind of, I don't know, like breaks up the pearls a little bit and it just makes it easier to pick up the powder that way. So I usually end up with enough on the cap. I'm going to use my Sonia G Face One brush and then just use it to buff in my makeup. And I get just such a wonderful, wonderful sheen to my skin. I don't know if the camera is picking up the difference, but here it is. My side buffed out, and then here it is without. So there it is, buffed all over my face. I put it pretty much everywhere. And it is also like a lifesaver if you feel like you've put your bronzer or your blush on like a little bit too heavily. You think, oh my God, like I look like a clown, what happened? This is great for that. Just kind of go right over that area and it buffs it right out. It blends everything perfectly. It lightens it up. It's just perfect. So I love the Guerlain Meteorites. So that is it for my Sephora VIB sale recommendations. I don't know what I'm going to be picking up yet. Like I said, I just got back from New York and I haven't even gotten a chance to take a look at the news section or pick up stuff that I've been meaning to and I just haven't, or just even re-up on some stuff like the Shiseido facial cottons, which we all do. I'll probably throw a couple in there. So anyway, I'll be sure to do a Sephora VIB sale haul once I do decide what I'm going to get. But those are my 15 recommendations. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Comment down below what you're going to be buying, or if you have any questions about any products that I may have talked about in the past, you're thinking about getting, kind of maybe want my thoughts on them. Definitely let me know down below in the comment section. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm also going to leave a link down to my latest giveaway, which is for the Viseart Grand Pro Volume 2, along with some other things. I'll leave a link to that giveaway. It is open for at least another couple of days. So anyway, I'll see you in my next video.